Hey everyone, it's Nicole. Today I'm here to present you my April wrap-up. Surprisingly, this time I didn't have to merge 2 months together to have an appropriate length wrap-up. The first book that I finished in April was Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinborough. It is pitched like the next The Girl on the Train and the next maybe even Gone Girl. And there are certain elements in this book that resemble these two books, but it is its own book in its own right, and I really enjoyed it. I think I gave it 4 stars. It's about a young woman who has a child and is recently divorced, who goes into a pub, gets drunk and meets a man. She has an affair with this man, and it turns out that he is her new boss. A good premise for a rom-com or a drama or a thriller, and in this case it's certainly a thriller. This woman feels very uncomfortable that she had a thing with her boss and that he also turned out to be married. And more so, a few events that are happening in this story are leading our protagonist to the man's wife that turns out to be nice, a little bit sheltered, and they both start a very unlikely friendship. So basically we have a character that is in between 2 fires. She really likes this dude on one hand, and she really likes his wife on another hand, and she can't choose between being a good friend and following her own romantic endeavors. But the more she hangs out with the wife, the more she realizes that their marriage is in some way fucked up. And it might be possible that the husband is being abusive towards his wife. I find overall these types of premises interesting, but what was the highlight for me in the story is the ending, because I didn't expect it. I know that some people feel cheapened by the ending, but even though I find it quite a bit problematic, just a little bit, I can handle things like this. Still, I found it very gripping, and I turned pages like my butt was on fire because I wanted to know what's going to happen next. And yes, I need to mention the fact that there is a supernatural element in this book. It's not entirely contemporary, but in my eyes and in my opinion, it makes the difference, and it makes it a very intriguing book. Moving on to the next book, I continued reading the Interborough series by Santino Hassell. I talked a lot about this series in my last wrap-up, and quite a few people seem to be interested in it, and for a good reason. It's good romance books, and those romance books are own voices books, which is always great because a lot of gay romances are written by straight women, which I guess is not bad, but at the same time the amount of non-owned voices books in this genre is a little bit overwhelming. So I've read the 3rd book that I hesitated to read. I didn't like the character that is going to be the lead, and it turned out to be the character I actually connected to in a lot of ways, which was weird. It follows Caleb, David's ex-boyfriend, and he didn't make a good impression on me in the last books. But guys, was I wrong? I think even though Caleb was a little bit older than other characters we encountered so far, and he's sometimes not particularly likable, he was in such state in this book, at least at the start of this book, that you can't help but feel pity. And I also felt very close to him because of his nearly neurotic views on relationships and intimacy. I'm pretty much the same. It's very hard for me to let people in, and I struggle to show my real self to people that I don't want to scare off. I think these elements made him very likable, even though I didn't expect to see them at all. And the fact that he was a part of this rich family that he didn't really like, and that he had to uphold a certain standard that he didn't really want to uphold, and that he wanted to have a different type of job, a type of job that wasn't controlled by his family, that wasn't approved by his family, also made sense to me. So this book in my eyes was a pretty solid book. I'm at this point trust Santino Hassell to tell his stories the way he wants to tell them. I'm not going to doubt him ever again, and the next book that he's going to come out with, I don't remember the title of it, but it's also the character that we already saw. I'm ready to buy it, I'm ready to read it, I'm sure I'm going to be entertained. The only thing that I want to mention about First and First also is that it's at some points pure porn. It's the porniest book so far I've read from Santino Hassell. So if it's not your thing, I feel like you can maybe skip it. But also at the same time, if it's your thing, and I know that you all perverts are here for that, it is pretty porny. Yeah. After this one, I immediately picked up the fourth book because it's about my favorite couple. It's about David and Raymond, and I'm always very excited when I encounter them, even in the books that don't have to do with them. So I jumped on it right after reading First and First, and I have to say that I was a little bit disappointed. I was just a little bit let down because I think that their relationship was better without the dirt that was introduced in the fourth book. I mean, all the relationships have trouble and drama, but at the same time I just wasn't feeling it. Sometimes I felt that the drama was heightened for no reason and it was overboard and too much, and I just wanted them to be happy, and sometimes I felt like they could be happy without making all those stupid shit decisions. But the book had to happen, and for it to happen there had to be some kind of drama. Then I read the book that was kindly sent to me by a publisher named Unsung Stories, and the book they've sent me in exchange for an honest review was Pseudotooth by Verity Holloway. This story was very peculiar. It's sort of fantasy, sort of literary, sort of magical realism, a little bit odd, a little bit weird. I wouldn't say that I was in love with it, but I certainly found it interesting. It's a story about a young girl named Oneill that has pseudo seizures. Basically, she experiences all kinds of symptoms, but no one can tell what kind of illness or disability she has. She's also medicated because she sees illusions, and after another unsatisfying encounter with doctors, her mother sends her away to her aunt, I think. Her aunt lives in a provincial area in an old house, and Oneill mother hopes that her daughter is going to get better, where the air is lighter, where she's not overly excited by a lot of things. But it turns out that Oneill not only sees illusions, these illusions might be pretty real. The writing in this book was beautiful in my opinion. I was not very keen on fantasy elements, to be honest, because sometimes they felt unfitting to me and I connected more with the contemporary part of the story. But overall I think that this book is very intriguing and something new, and people that enjoy reading mostly literary fiction with a dab into fantasy, I think we'll enjoy it a bit more. Then I read a nonfiction book. I'm actually really feeling nonfiction at the moment, and my pick was Unmentionable by Therese Oneill. I've heard a little bit about this book and I was very intrigued. It is basically an immersive nonfiction that puts you in the 19th century and explains the life that you would have been having. I loved it especially because of the dry humor, but it also was educational. It speaks about a range of the topics, and all of these topics, as you might get from the title, are something that are usually not mentioned in the period dramas and romance novels that are set in the 19th century. It explains underwear, bathroom habits, childbirth, sex that happened in 19th century, and what was considered normal, what was considered abnormal. Some of these things you've maybe heard before, but it is a great compilation told in an entertaining way. I'm sorry for all the women that had to enter the 19th century, especially because of the childbirth and sex sections. Terrible experience. 100% do not recommend. Especially the photo of the women that had 10 plus children and whose uterus just turned inside out. No girl, no. Anyway, the last book that I read in April was outstanding. I still feel mushy and satisfied, and I have all those positive feelings. It was The Upside of Unrequited by Becky Albertalli. I've been waiting for this book for ages, it felt. Because I loved Simon vs. Homo sapiens agenda, and I loved Becky Albertalli's writing style and her characters and the way she builds a contemporary world. It's also a skill. I hoped that her next book is going to be great, but I had a few hesitations about it because sometimes people deliver their first book and the second book turns out to be, you know, but I absolutely loved it. I loved the protagonist. I felt like she was very authentic. I loved her relationships with her family, and her family in general was the cutest. I enjoyed her relationships with the guy that she likes. It was very down to earth. I feel like a lot of romance novels have this fault of putting two flawless people in the center of the plot and making them fall in love with each other. Well, you know what? It's very easy to fall for flawless people, but they don't exist in real life. In this case, I think it was done very right. We never saw these characters being perfect. They were real people that liked each other for real reasons. And the other thing that I want to address in regards to this book is the Twitter discussion that annoyed the hell out of me. Some people said that this book didn't do anything revolutionary, and I want to hardly disagree. We don't see a fat protagonist done respectfully often in young adult. It's also not a story about a girl feeling better because she has a boyfriend now, because some people mention it and it's completely not true, because the protagonist experiences certain conflicts not only in regards to her life, but also in regards to her family life and her friendships, and it's also very important in her growth. And as I said, I fell absolutely in love with this book. I rarely give contemporary books 5 stars, and I gave this book 5 stars without hesitation. That's all the books that I've read in April. I think I've done a great job this month, so I deserve a pat on the shoulder. And if you read any of those books, you have opinions on them, or you want to recommend me a book, or you read something fantastic this month, or you read something really, really horrifying this month, terrible, and you want to share, please do this in the comments down below. Thank you for watching this video. I hope to see you soon in my next one. Bye!